I'd like to call the Pentucket Regional School Committee business meeting for September 19th to order. Roll call. Wayne Adams.
Here.
Joanna Blanchard.
Here.
Bill Buell.
Here.
Emily Dwyer.
Here.
Dick Hodges.
Here.
Andy Murphy here. Lisa O'Connor.
Here.
Chris Redding.
Here.
Tina Trotta will be here.
4.2.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent. Can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Okay, next item, minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the business minutes of August 15th, 2017?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? The favors win. May I have a motion to approve the business minutes for September 5th, 2017?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Very good. Next, may I have a motion to approve the policy subcommittee minutes for September 5th, 2017?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? May I have a motion to approve the communications subcommittee September 5th, 2017 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? And last but not least, may I have a motion to approve the Human Resources Subcommittee minutes for September 5th, 2017?
So moved. Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
I think you skipped one.
Business, finance, and operations.
Number 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over one. May I have a motion to approve the Business Finance Operations Subcommittee minutes for September 5th,
So moved.
2017? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Now we got them all. Okay, next item, public comment. Would anyone like to make a public comment? Nobody wants to make a public comment. Is this where we wanted to? Okay, so my public comment will be to introduce Chris Kelly, our assistant superintendent, who's attending her first meeting with us. And I hope this is the first of many to come.
I hope so too. I plan on it. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. All right, next item, the superintendent's report, and Dr. Mulqueen's going to give us an update on the MSBA.
And I'd like Andy to help me out here. So the project continues to follow the MSBA timeline and process. And I know that for many people, they wonder, like, when are things going to get going? There's a very well-defined process and timeline that we are required to follow from the MSBA. We've just finished negotiating with the designer, and Dora and Whittier are on board. And so now we'll start to see the wheels turning in ways that people had been expecting and anticipating. And maybe Andy could give a little bit of an update about our last meeting. Dora and Whittier attended along with our owner's project manager, John Lemieux.
Right. And so first I want to apologize to to all of you on the communications front, because what we decided to do is to hold off on going out and talking to the community until we have a chance to meet with what's going to be a working group of the building subcommittee, and particularly with our project manager and our designers, because they've been through this many times before. And then coming out of that working group, we're going to develop a sort of a consolidated communications plan because we want to make sure this thing goes beyond us at this point. We want to make sure everybody associated with this project is reading off of the same hymn book. So the first working group, which is a subset of the building committee, the first working group meeting is Thursday at 10 a.m. So I think that meeting is primarily just organizational, but that's one of the top things we'll be talking about. It certainly was a top item Doran Whittier brought up several times during their presentation. And it'll be really helpful because they've been through this so many times before that rather than trying to do it the way we think is right for the first time, I'd rather talk to someone who's done it like 50 times and sort of steal best practices and then build a plan from that. So that's sort of the game plan there.
Can I just ask, so how big is the working group?
It's going to flex in and out. Depends on what the topic is. So I'll be a part of that. Greg Haddon can be when facilities is up. Greg LeBret can be when there are things finance related. Andy's on the working group
Right.
as kind of a liaison between the school committee and the building committee. Doran Whittier have representation. John Lemieux's there. So again, it will be who really is important for the effort. And it's a way of getting a pretty agile group together and doing the work and then reporting back out to the school building committee so that they're always informed. They're really key decision makers for the big picture items in the project. And this is just for on the ground getting things done in between times.
Right.
And how often does the working group meet?
Every week. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Any more questions? Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Mulqueen.
Okay.
Okay, new business. Grade 8 trip to Washington, D.C. and Colonial Williamsburg.
So this is an annual trip that our 8th graders take. And as usual, the middle school has provided a very good resource, sample itinerary, and all the relative documentation that would be helpful to us. And again, there are no surprises here. It's been run very smoothly in the past, and we're looking for an approval for tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2018 middle school field trip to Washington, D.C. and Williamsburg, Virginia.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just
Joanna?
want to say I'm really grateful to all of the teachers who go on this trip. They do it, they volunteer their time to do it. Two of my children have been on it. It's been a wonderful experience. I really appreciate all the effort they put forth, on their own time organizing this trip.
Yeah, there was an article about a school system making the rounds that actually canceled this type of trip just because it became quite difficult for the teachers. And it really is nice that we have teachers that step up to the plate and make this happen.
I still have students I had decades ago that still talk about the Washington trip.
Right.
It's a fabulous experience.
Any other comments? All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, next item, the assessment policy.
This policy was a topic of discussion in one of our subcommittees, Teaching, Learning, and Accountability, or policy. It was actually in policy committee. And I'm bringing it forward because it's a key part for our IB application. And it provides some groundwork. I think it can use some attention as we go forward, but it provides some good groundwork, and it will satisfy the requirements of the IB application. And so I'm recommending that we move forward with it tonight.
May I have a motion to approve the assessment policy?
So
Make a
moved.
motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have some questions. I'm on page 1 of the assessment policy. When it says identify strengths and weaknesses, what specific tools do we use in the Pentucket School District to evaluate that?
Can you tell me where you are, Dick, in particular?
Yeah, I'm on
Bullet point three.
page 1, and it's the third dot.
Okay.
Identify strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example of that. So in our curriculum renewal policy, we use assessments to look at what are kids good at, where are the strengths, where are the weaknesses, and how does our curriculum have to be tuned up. That would be an example of how we use assessments,
Okay.
periodically in our curriculum renewal cycle. It's typically at the beginning of the cycle, so we just went through all of that last year. We look at everything from gender issues, are boys doing better than girls? If so, what's the enrollment? All of those kinds of things. We look at subgroups of students who have disabilities, students who have economic backgrounds that are impoverished. We look at all those different subgroups.
Okay.
Yep.
Next line, address various learning modalities. Do we actually test learning styles?
We do, to some degree, in our middle and high school, we begin to talk about learning styles in a more in-depth way. And you may recall that we have an individual success plan that students work on, particularly at the high school level. And there's a whole group of assessments in Naviance that address learning style.
Okay, I found that my students, the light bulb really goes off when they're able to find out what their learning style is, because that tells them an area of school where they are absolutely awesome. And then to encourage them with that, to work harder on the areas where weakness with probably any of us would show.
Yep, definitely.
Moving down to the next set, common assessment practices.
Yep.
Third dot, teachers plan assessment collaboratively. Yeah, if I
Yeah.
can pronounce that collaboratively. What vehicle do we use in order, because I understand at the middle school, it's not team set up in terms of scheduling.
Well, that's actually a little bit of a misconception.
Okay,
So,
correct me.
yeah, so at every level we have planning time for teachers, and at the middle school we have common planning time for subject area teachers, so all math teachers, all science teachers.
All right, so that's what you're defining there, and I'm assuming at the high school, department chairs and their
Well, we
their
have
staff.
grade 9 and grade 10 team structures, and then at grade 11 and 12 it's more individualized, more departmentalized, you're right.
Next page where it says assessment strategies. I just need some clarification on these before I vote. Where it says flexible grouping, does that mean that students, let's say I was in AP computers, but I could also be in a lower level English class?
Well, it can. I'll give you a little better example though.
Okay.
At the elementary school level, we've implemented something called a WIN block, W-I-N, and it's really about what individuals need. So during the course of instruction for, let's say, math and language arts, that WIN block is used to give supplemental help to students who may need to boost up or who are already above and need a boost beyond. So it's a way of, as it says here, differentiating instruction through flexible grouping. That can occur in the regular classroom, but I'm giving you a more extreme example where you get more individual, whatever individuals need to make the next step.
But it's very distant from tracking.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Guided reading. Is
the
another-
that's
last,
another example.
my last question, the summative assessment occurs at the end of the unit, and then there's a list. One of the things I did not see that has been very effective on a high school level is the PIDEA assessment. It's an opportunity, I'll give you an English example. You read a novel and the teacher has these salient questions, but the student has to, in order to, you really have to read the book to answer the teacher's questions, but they have to support things like theme, character interaction, why the author wrote what the, so it gets into a very, very much deeper discussion than just doing a true-false test and coming
Right.
up with, so I'm wondering if we could, if that's worth thinking about. You can Google it easily, but it's a wonderful teaching tool. I've used it myself, and I just didn't see it on the list. All these others seem to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, so these are just examples. We could go on and on. What I try to do is provide some illustration rather than
So
an
this is
exhaust-
illustration. This is not set in stone.
Yeah, it says examples. So one teacher might
Okay.
use one or two. Another teacher might use something that's not even listed here.
And then I thought after pre-test, and then and I go, where's the post-test? And you already had the post-test.
Yeah.
Final, this is more a comment. I'm always interested in how we can be more efficient. One of the things that I noticed that, at least in my experience with the middle school, is when we had a team of teachers, 5 or 6 teachers, sitting with parents, that is over and done in about 15, 20 minutes tops. Now, it seems that parents have to schedule, is it true now that parents have to schedule with individual teachers, which would push this into maybe 10, 15 minutes per teacher?
That could be the case, but I think what's even more important is that teachers have a regular connection with parents, so it's not just a one-time, stop-in. So, for instance, we use School Loop as a way of connecting with parents.
Okay.
They can see assignments, they can see more real-time kinds of things, and we encourage teachers and parents to make connections all the time rather than a more structured twice a year or any of that. So, the in-person big event connection is to kind of put a face with a name and to get some, airtime with that person. But I think during the year, I would encourage people, if there's a problem or questions, to make a more regular connection.
Parents generally want to know about grade, effort, and conduct, and that
Yeah.
sounds like something you can do on the loop.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Lisa?
I have a question. Under feedback and reporting on assessments, the third bullet down, it says teachers provide feedback to students and parents outside of the regular reporting periods and conference cycles. What does that look like?
Well, it could be homework assessments. It could be periodic quizzes or, comments or telephone calls or any of that sort of thing.
Okay, so if through this assessment, a student was identified as struggling, and
Yeah.
it's not a child that's already been pre-identified
Yeah.
and needing, individual ed services, what would that process look like? The child is like significantly, or not even significantly, consistently not doing well in this assessment
Yeah.
testing. So what does the process look like?
So what I would encourage you to think about is multiple assessments, multiple data points coming in, so it's not just one. So you're looking at the student with different lenses, and when you see that person struggling in some way or having some area of need, we have something called an IST, and the instructional support team at each school. That instructional support team provides multiple lenses, multiple people coming together to talk through what the issue might be and what some resolution might be. It eventually could turn into a referral to special education or Section 504 if there's a disability that's suspected. But other times it could be about how do I get help as a teacher to better know how to address the needs of a student.
Okay, so you said it's an IST team that
Yeah.
comes in.
Yeah,
Okay.
pre-referral.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good question.
So I was just wondering some of the big pictures ideas of this, like who administers this? Is this the individual teachers, or is this more at the guidance level? And who's keeping track of these students? Do they have like a file that's following
IST?
through?
The instructional support
No.
team?
So the instructional support team. which
Yeah, the
would be-
principals are managing that.
Okay.
And that's actually one of the data points that comes to our end of the month data analysis meetings. So we're looking at how many students and who's being referred, and over time are they being helped. We don't want them to be perpetually in this help cycle and not getting any better.
No, but I'm just talking about the general assessment. So you're assessing every student. This assessment policy is applying to every individual student. Is that?
Yeah, this is all students, right?
Yeah, so every student has a file now, whereas before they didn't, or like,
No,
how is this information being tracked, I guess, through the system?
we have a spreadsheet at each school that tracks students who are referred in and out of the IST team, so not every student is in there.
So this isn't for everybody?
No.
Okay.
But
okay.
then, like, in other ways, do you mean just about the IST, or you mean like all the other, because like
No.
other, like their reading assessments, I'm assuming are tracked by the reading specialists.
That's right.
Right.
In a given school, where they would like, from year to, I don't know about the middle school, high school, but like that's, or
Yeah.
same thing with their math assessments.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have like pass-along folders for like
Yeah.
their beginning and end of year or something like that.
Or if you think about the new system we have for reading and math assessment, that will help build a database for each individual student over the course of time, so you can see a trajectory, you can see to what degree are they growing.
But if a student isn't identified as needing additional support, they're not really within this assessment system?
No, they are,
They are,
but they're
okay.
not in the instructional support system.
They're in for
But they
these.
might not have the same, like at least most, especially, most students, like how I've seen this work before and how I know it works at the Bagnell School, like the kids who are, for example, in reading, just it's an obvious, easy example, like if they're making benchmark in reading, they might only get assessed twice a year,
Okay.
right? Whereas the kids who are struggling might get assessed in the middle of the year to make sure they're making that adequate progress toward the end of the year benchmark. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of the assessment policy? All opposed? The ayes have it. Great. Next item, coordinated program review action item.
So the equal employment opportunity policy that we have needed to be tuned up according to our program review. And what I provided to you was the result of our attorney's suggestion for how to do that. It was just a matter of providing more contemporary language in the policy. And you can see that what she's done is cross out a line and then add in the more contemporary language. Everything else is the same. And, so that will allow us to check off one of those program review items.
So age got crossed off but not added back in.
That's correct.
And that's
Why?
on purpose, or?
This is what the attorney recommended. I can double check with her before I move forward.
I would think you'd still have to have age discrimination.
So I'll check with her to make sure. We don't want to eliminate anything that shouldn't be taken out, but this is what she recommended. If you'll see at the end, it was around gender identity, sexual orientation, genetic information, ancestry, military status, and disability. Those are the major areas. So I'll check back with her to make sure that she didn't inadvertently take out age.
And may I assume that this language protects the employee after they've been hired, as opposed to everything in here is illegal to be asking during an interview?
Oh, no, you don't ask anything.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the irony of this situation, or at least I feel it's ironic, that that this person should be protected in both cases, not only during the interview, but should also be protected when they're employed. But it would seem to me
Yeah, they are.
this language is set aside to protect people if and when they find out something that they didn't know before. So but I agree with Chris. I'm surprised that age was not.
I'll check to make sure. I don't want there to be an error.
One of the lawyers is probably cut into genetic information.
Lisa?
All right.
Can I make a motion to table this?
Yeah, I think we should get that resolved.
Well, I'd really rather not do that because I have a timeline according to what's required. So if age is the only area that you'd like me to check on, I'm happy to add it in if that's what is required.
Can we do that tonight?
How about,
I mean, can we support you to go ahead and do
we
that?
can make that motion.
This might have been a clerical error by the attorney.
Yeah, so you could make the motion to approve it with the caveat that if required, I add in age as necessary.
So can I have a motion to approve the coordinated program review action item, pending Dr. Mulqueen checking with the lawyer to see if we need to add the word age back into the policy.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
Thanks very much.
Excellent. Okay, next item. Update district accountability plan.
So at the last meeting, I went through a project plan for the accountability plan. And I'm just going to go through some of the action items for September to let you know where we are. So I'm not going to refer directly to it. All I've done is gone, every September, I've taken out information to let you know where we are. So with the curriculum renewal process, teams are forming right now and planning to convene across every content area. The one change would be Chris Kelly is going to take my place on the Language Arts and World Language curriculum team, and I'm going to be taking what Rob Harrison did last year. He provided guidance on the arts committee. So that would be one change that's underway. Implementing the Pentucket curriculum. We have a new electronic version of the instructional inventory, and we've started to use that. And we're using that to provide more concrete feedback to teachers after instructional rounds. Early literacy instruction. We have an assessment schedule for early literacy assessments that's being implemented. And Chris Kelly is organizing professional training in a key early literacy program called Foundations. Implementation of the Lexile and Quantile assessments. Excuse me. September 21st, we have the Quantile webinar for key personnel across the district. Key personnel include grades 1 through 9 for teaching staff and then administrative staff as well. September 28th, the same thing, only for the Lexile. And just a note that implementation has expanded to include grade 1. So it used to be grade 2 through 9, we included grade 1. Implementing the early warning system. Principals of each school will bring baseline data for attendance, student referrals to the IST that we just talked about, and discipline. And at the end of each month, we do a data analysis round, and we look for critical indicators and then provide targeted assistance to schools. Translating the instructional program into the conceptual design for the school building project. Thought Exchange has suggested the next set of questions regarding the grade configuration, so we can move that conversation around. And it's around gathering more feedback from parents about some of the important things that might be considered if we move forward with a 7 through 12 configuration. Some of the opportunities to consider for students in that configuration and what additional questions that they might have. Implementing professional development. We're continuing to organize our professional development plan for the upcoming year, and the Professional Development Committee will be convening, I think, within the next week. It was scheduled for today. It was canceled for today. Probably within the next week and moving forward with that. Strengthening the system's responsiveness and advocacy for all students. I'll be meeting with a team of students from the high school, the presidents of each class, and the president of the student council. And those will be scheduled for mornings on Thursdays. Strengthening the engagement of students with a 95% attendance rate for students and staff. We're collecting data. We'll be meeting on September 29th for the first time to analyze that data. Completing the feasibility study and strengthening communication with town leadership. We've taken some initial steps, as Andy said, at our school building committee, and that will be moving forward pretty much with the recommendation of our designer and owner's project manager.
What I'm finding, and I think this is a challenge for all three towns, is just that level of patience or impatience in some. cases, and I'm constantly quizzed, and I say, this is not the race where the rabbit wins the race. This is where the turtle is going to win.
That's right.
And but that's going to be a challenge, I think, for a number of people who just want more and more information.
So I might make a suggestion about how to respond. It would be helpful for them to know that there's a very well-defined process that we have to follow from the MSBA. And the process is designed to guarantee success. So the MSBA is not committed to anything but success. We can never move forward without their approval. And with all of our accelerated work to date, we may have accelerated the work and the schedule, but it's only when they approve it that we can continue to move forward. So they never sacrifice quality. And, so I know it's hard for people to be patient, but if they could keep in mind, we're doing whatever we can to move the work forward, but it's not according to our own schedule.
Yeah.
So is there, and I apologize that I haven't looked, is there anywhere on the website, like right on the page that you plop on to begin with, that you can just say building update?
We're not there yet.
Okay.
So at our last school building committee meeting, we had a proposed schedule of events coming. It has to be approved by the MSBA before we can publish it. Once we put that up on the website, people will be much more able to see when things are happening and what the schedule is. But
I even think that the preliminary information, like even if, building update, and you click on it, Dora and Whittier hired as the architect, so that people can have something quick, short, simple. Oh, okay, that's where we are. Because I was sitting next to somebody at the high school night, and the guy had no idea that I was on the school committee and said, I don't even know what's happening with this building. Like, are we doing it? Are we not? And I think there's people who are in tune and are paying attention, and then there's a whole bunch of the rest of the population that has no idea because they're busy and it's not in front of them, but they wonder about it.
Yeah. The one thing that Dora and Whittier is making really clear is the danger of putting the wrong information out early.
But that's why I think if you keep it short and sweet.
Well, but, and the need to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So they will get that information, they will get it soon. And soon, I mean within weeks, not months.
yeah, right.
But we really have to do this in a way where that whole group knows what we're saying, and everyone's saying the same thing when asked about it, even if it's something small. And, from my standpoint, I think knowing what they've been through and they know where the landmines are, I don't want to just ignorantly stumble into a landmine because I haven't done this before. So I think it's really important that we have that meeting, get on the same page, and then we'll start doing that. And, hopefully within a couple of weeks, all those questions go away because there are going to be those updates. But we talk about something as simple as posting a timeline. Well, we need to think beyond that, because if you're just going to post it on the high school website, but we should think about how else do we get out there with it. Not everyone's looking at the high school website. So we need to think more broadly than that and do it in a coordinated way. So I think that's where we're headed.
It should also be an investment for the elementary staff. They ought to have a shared vision of where that first grader is going to be in X number of years.
Yeah. So do you have any other questions about the update for the accountability plan?
I have a question about the foundations. So, who are you, I know that not everybody's using it. So I guess I'm wondering who's getting the training? And
Everybody. So
Everybody
we want a
through
coordinated effort, K
through-
through 3.
Okay.
And we're going to be providing everybody with the same materials and information and training.
Okay, so then what they are currently using, they will no longer be using, that's what they will be going forward with?
There's a variety of materials and methods that are being used. We're going to try to standardize what's happening.
Yes, no, and I think that that's actually really important. I just, when you had given us the update about the curriculum renewal and talking about the budget last week in terms of making one of the goals that we put up on that door, was about, putting in the budget for
That's a
some
little bit
materials.
different.
So I'm just curious
Yeah,
if,
that's a little bit different. So we currently have foundations built into our system, and we just need to tune it up so that everybody's doing about the same kind of thing, standardizing.
okay. So I'm not disagreeing that everyone should be doing everything. I'm confused because.
We want to take the confusion out of the system.
I have a child who's gone through 2 entire years at a school and has had 0 foundations.
Exactly.
And when I've asked that question, the teachers haven't had that as a curriculum resource. So
Yeah,
I
so we
find
want to
that
make
shocking.
sure everybody does. Yep. You recall last year I met with every grade K through
Yes.
2 teaching team, and from that came, we need to standardize and to improve. So that's what we're moving ahead with.
Any more comments or questions?
Great.
Okay. Item E, health insurance for administrators.
Can you speak to this?
Sure.
All right. So, as recommended by the retirement board, I went back into our administrative contracts to see what language was there for health insurance. We have the language that was required, but when I looked at it, our language only spoke to our employees as a general group, and we have 2 different kinds of employees in our system. We have active employees and retirees. So what I'm recommending is that we are concrete and clear about who we're providing what to. So we all, administrators, have the provisions for active employees, and when they retire, the practice has been to give them that same benefit only for retirees. So I'm asking to update the policy to be clear that it's for our employees or retired employees, because there are 2 different groups that we're actually talking about.
And I actually ran this by Mike Gilbert at Mask, and he agreed that this is a standard practice. So.
Is there any length of time to be employed until that? I know that with Crest, they have to be there a certain amount of time before they can accumulate enough time spent.
That's right. So you have to be vested in the system. So that would be a combination of years to accumulate to 10 years. So if you, let's say, came from out of state and you were here for 2 years, you wouldn't be vested in the system, and so you wouldn't have access to that benefit.
And that's the statewide system or our individual?
It's granted locally. So, Greg, maybe you want to add to that?
The health insurance provision of it's granted locally, how much you pay for your retirees' health insurance, whether you want to let them even on. There are places where they don't pay for the retirees. I'm not sure why anybody would work there, but they have them. But once you're into a system, as a few people who are in the educational systems know, it follows the standard practice. First of all, you have to retire, not just leave. In other words, you left here and went to Newburyport, you can retire from here, so you're out of our link. The second part is you have to be at least 55 years old with 10 years into the system.
Into like Pentucket?
No,
Okay,
into the
that's
entire
what I'm asking.
system, or 20 years into the system at any age. So most likely, they actually did a standard adjustment to the law about 5 years ago where you could prorate it. So you could call the retirement board and say, I've got the following retirees are mine, how many of them spend time in other districts? And you could bill the district for that percentage. And it was so minuscule, you'll be surprised how minuscule it was. I think they abandoned it this year in the Municipal Relief Act. They said it wasn't worth it. People were doing tons and tons of paperwork for virtually nothing. So they said, we just abandoned it. So now, basically where you retire from is where it covers your health
See, like
insurance at
at
that
Crest, that would not be the case because there's a lot more moving around. So that's why it's an issue there, and I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no, they tried to mitigate it a little bit, like I said, with that law that allow you to bill it a little bit. In some cases, it was worth it, but not for the most part, it really wasn't. Most people who have retire from a district, they didn't go to that district late in life because of the way teachers' scales work. You know, you'd go back to the beginning. You're not going to give up a high step in another district to come back here and start at the beginning. So you tend to have been in the place a long time when you retire from there.
Yeah, but with an administrator, like they could come in and work in your system just for 1 year, even if they were over 55 and had 10 years of service.
In another district?
Yeah. Then
I suppose they could,
our
but
district could pick it up.
Okay.
most people wouldn't be hiring a guy who's going to retire in a year.
No, but I'm just saying, like, say you did hire somebody who said, yeah, I'm planning to work for you for 5 or 10 years, and then they decided to retire in 1 year. And then you're paying their.
I'm not allowed to ask about age because of the policy.
No, but I'm just
I
saying.
don't know, it's not in the policy right now.
But if you hire somebody, giving them a
Yeah.
3 or a 5 year contract, thinking they're gonna stay for a while, but then they retire 6 months out.
That could happen.
It
Yes.
happens.
And so is there anything you can write and say that they have to work for your district for 3 years? No?
No, I'm thinking that a spouse, if I had just become an administrator here and my spouse was battling cancer and I decided this is the time I need to be a caretaker. But I planned on being here for 10 years, but I'm only here for a year, so I guess my question is that something you want to hold against me? But on the other hand, I also understand the protection piece of that we're not taking down the road either.
Yeah, and I understand the concept Karina's talking about. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me in Groveland, but it is very, very rare that you have that situation occur. And it would most likely happen something in a situation like you said, because that's how it happened, the one I'm thinking of, that case.
Wayne?
I understand what Joanna's saying, and yes, everybody would have that concern. However, it's not just Pentucket, it's the other 300 school systems in the state that teachers move around, spend 2 years at one place, they're of age, they've got the investment, and that town is on the hook. Well, all towns are on the hook because no given school system is taking all these people in a larger percentage or proportion than any other school system. So having some type of thing in the contract that says, wait a minute, you haven't been in Pentucket 5 years, that would never fly anyways. And every school in the state would have to come up with a policy to kind of prevent any educator, administrator, or teacher from moving to another school district strictly for a health plan, even though they're only going to be there, we'll say, 1 year. Legit reasons, every school has it. So maybe Pentucket had 5 coming in the district this year, Amesbury had 7, Newburyport only had 2 this year, but it happens. But it's equal, and it's random, and it's fair. From what I've been told, districts in other states tried to do what somebody just brought up, where they taught in another district, try to keep track of a person that taught at 7 schools or 3 and exactly what percentage each one, and then bring it back to the towns to coordinate what percentage are we liable for. So to put everybody's mind at ease for this particular thing, it's pretty much just rewording to keep it updated.
Any other discussions? Okay, this is a rather hefty motion, so may I have a motion to amend the contract of the superintendent, business manager, principals, assistant principals, director of facilities, and director of technology to the following, : the superintendent, parentheses, or other contracted administrator, close parentheses, shall be eligible to participate in the same health and other insurance benefits currently provided to other employees or retired employees of the district, subject to the terms and conditions of said coverage and at the same rates as provided for said employees or retired employees.
Move the motion.
Jeff, excuse me, I think we edited this to include the assistant
I was
superintendent.
just going to ask that.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
So we need to include the assistant superintendent.
Okay.
Same motion with assistant superintendent?
Yeah.
Yep.
So would the director of
Okay.
special ed
I'm gonna need
also
some
be?
secrets.
And the
Yeah.
director of special ed,
Directors,
Mary Ann, was
yeah.
in there.
Yes, it was. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is there anyone?
May I have a motion?
I move the motion with the added amendments.
Second.
Second. Discussion. I actually have one point of discussion. Do we want to be that specific in the event that the administrative staff is expanded with new titles in the future? And
Or does everything go under
Right.
contracted
Does the
administrator?
superintendent or other contracted administrator catch all?
You add the S to administrators, and you've taken care of that.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion to amend the word administrator to administrators.
Sounds okay. I'll just include everybody.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
Well, could
That-
you
well,
even
that's-
just, could you even just change it and say all contract administrators shall be eligible? And
Right,
that-
right,
then
and
you're
remove
not
the titles.
Identifying one role and not the
Right,
others,
that was
but
my
you're-
point, I just didn't want to see
anybody
someone
who's
come in and feel like they were excluded.
Non-union
Yeah.
contract.
Sounds good.
So what are we going with? That?
All
I think-
contracted administrators.
I think I should probably reread this.
Okay.
Is that all right?
So it's like the contracted administrators.
All contracted.
Not the, all.
Do we have to rescind the original?
It wasn't voted on.
We don't
So,
have a
but
motion,
the
we have a
first
But it was
line,
moved.
the motion,
Moved and seconded, so then we have to do a friendly amendment.
Right, which I would.
You won't hurt my feelings if we rescind my motion.
Or a friendly amendment. Who made
the first
Yeah,
line
you
though,
can
should it not
rescind it,
be
right?
of the superintendent and administrators, so we don't have all these titles?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Chris, how do you do a friendly amendment?
So, do you accept my friendly amendment? to
I
change it
certainly
to
do.
All contracted administrators.
Shall be eligible.
So it's just all contracted administrators shall be.
There we go.
It's a good idea.
okay.
That was very friendly.
Okay. New motion. May I have a motion to approve the following? To amend the contract of the superintendent and administrators to the following. The superintendent and all contracted administrators shall be eligible to participate in the same health and other insurance benefits
No, that's
currently.
what we did before. Are we changing it?
Cross out the
You just want to
superintendent.
say
It
all
goes with
contracted.
And I
all
think actually the
contracts,
top
just all
part-
contracted administrators.
All right, so we're losing the superintendent.
Even the top part, we could to amend the contracts of all administrators. Do the following.
Yep. Okay.
We could vote down the motion. It's just
All
start
right.
from scratch.
May I have a motion to approve the following? To amend the contract of all administrators,
Contracted administrators.
all contracted administrators, to the following. All contracted administrators shall be eligible to participate in the same health and other insurance benefits currently provided to other employees or retired employees of the district, subject to the terms and conditions of said coverage, and at the same rate as provided for said employees or retired employees.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Excellent. School committee goals. I think the,
I think you missed one. Superintendent
oh,
goals.
Jesus. I'm sorry.
That's
Correct that. We're on superintendent goals.
Okay.
Okay. So Jeff and I talked, and we were talking about the goals session we had, and we thought it would make sense to officially discuss and approve his goals that he already has set. And so that's what this item is about.
So last time, at the last meeting, I went through in some detail all of the goals, and you all didn't approve them, and I just thought it would make sense to get them approved so we could move forward officially.
Right. So, may I have a motion to approve the superintendent's goals?
So moved.
Second?
Second? Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, now, school committee goals, and I think our motion jumps the gun a little here. What I think would be ideal is if we when we look at how we did the goals last time, I think it would be good to evolve that so it more conforms to what we heard about at the workshop. So particularly the area around actionable and measurable. So what I was hoping to do was to talk about a process we could do for developing goals. The last time the process I thought worked reasonably well, and I believe, if memory serves, we sort of hammered out, I think it was 4, maybe 5 sort of goal areas. And then I met with Dr. Mulqueen and we talked through, how we could make sure that they sort of dovetailed with his objectives, so it was relevant. And then I did drafts of those goals, and then we discussed them during a school committee meeting. People gave edits, different ideas, and then we did final versions of them, and we voted on them, and those became our goals. So what I was wondering if we could do tonight would be to talk about establishing goals for the school committee, to come up with those general categories again, which we discussed to some extent during the workshop. But I don't think we didn't really get to a point where we said, yes, these are the 4 goal areas we should concentrate on, or the 3 areas. And if we do that, and perhaps what we should do is approve the process, I suggest, in relation to those goal areas, and then we can go off and do that. And that way, we could develop a new set of goals for ourselves.
Yeah, I don't know if we actually have to approve the process, do we? Do we just have to, I don't think we have to make a motion.
Okay.
I don't think, but we can just decide on how we're going to go about it.
Last time, didn't everybody submit them to you within a certain
Yes.
amount of time?
Yeah.
And
Yes, that's right. Okay, so, what we could do is just make it less formal. If you want to submit what you think, what some of our goals should be, and let's say do that by the end of this week, I could then schedule some time to sit down
we
with
could
Dr. Mulqueen.
try to hammer through it.
Yeah.
Do you have the ones that we worked on at the last meeting?
I have a list, and it was sort of the general categories. So like one was improve community relations. Another one was about focusing on teacher morale and doing
Right, but
exit.
then didn't we each work on, like Emily came up with really good infographic.
Right.
Do you have that?
I have,
Do you have all of them?
no,
Or
I
just
only had
ours?
ours.
No,
Well, I kind of know what I was working on.
Maybe they
with
could
Bill with
submit
curriculum.
those and we could work them.
Right, and then
Yeah.
if you shared all of that.
yeah, if you wanted.
4, right?
I think we had 4, right?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
Somebody had MSBA, somebody had policy, somebody had curriculum.
And we had
And we had
different
community
methods of community
engagement.
engagement.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, you guys can submit those to me.
And then you can share all of them with us to
Yeah, I think
look at.
might look to sort of distill it down to something in neat writing, and we can
Ours is
hammer it.
good. Because of Emily.
But yeah, and there could be, like the MSBA thing is so big, we could have a couple of goals just focused on that, for example, but have to think about it, so.
Well, our community engagement goal sort of addressed that we did divide that last time.
Okay.
And ours was mostly related to community engagement about the school building project.
All right, so if you
In
guys
fact,
give
it
me,
was
if you guys give me that stuff, I can input it into a Word doc, which will hopefully then look like a few goals, and then I can schedule time to sit down with Dr. Mulqueen to.
Do we
Camera
have
for-
everyone's email?
Right.
I have no idea what your email is. I got your phone number.
I think it's actually on the website. Right, it's on
Is
our.
it?
Yeah, we all
Okay.
have PRSD emails.
Okay,
although
that's
my
wrong.
password somehow doesn't work anymore, but.
I haven't been using that prsd.org.
Email addresses on the website or the PRSD.
Forwarded on
Okay.
to Andy.
Mary Ann, can I email it to you?
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't we do that if you can't find me? I've got you somewhere in my email. Okay, good. So if you guys could get me those documents, that would be really helpful. And then we can get going on that. Okay. All right, next, we need to go into executive session.
Question, please.
Yep.
Dr. Moquang gave us a second document, the Title I. Were we going to vote on that tonight as well? That was the other draft?
That's for next time.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay, we need to go into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. We're going to take a roll call vote.
Did you say we're not coming back?
Oh, and we're not coming back. Thank you. Roll call, Wayne Adams.
Yeah.
Dick.
Here.
Joanna.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Andy, yes. Lisa.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Dina.
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
Okay.